Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Hi. Yay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
I got
Yeah.
a little Yeti.
Oh, look at you with the mic. I got it. I love it. Yeah. Oh,
It's
man.
working. Did I have the right
Kenny
phone?
will be here at any minute.
Okay.
We've had a whole day of recording, so
Oh my.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
How many?
No, that's
how many-
okay. It's okay. Like we don't mind it. So it's if we could record and do this like all day, every day, and do nothing else, I think we would definitely do it. So yeah.
The heavy lifting is. Are you doing all the splicing and all the editing? Is that on your end?
I do all the editing and the processing, and then we do the multiple formats. So we do because we have kind of like what we call fast thoughts that go onto YouTube as well.
Mm.
So we record YouTube stuff, and I do all of it. So yeah.
Nice. Hey, Kenny.
How are you?
The only thing I don't do socials. So we kind of farmed out socials because I hate socials.
Yeah.
It's so tedious, right? So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Kenny
Yeah.
Phil was telling me you've been recording all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be how many? Did we two podcasts, three
Mhm.
podcasts today?
Yeah, I've lost track. I
Three
don't know.
podcasts today, and then a couple 15-minuters.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I told Kenny that Christine and I are starting. Well, we recorded our first episode in November, and we just haven't found the time to really publish. So we put a line in the sand. March 18, we're going live with our first episode.
Yeah.
And we're going to record a few more. And
That's
it's
amazing.
fun.
Good
It's
for
You know,
you.
the trick is,
Yeah.
the trick is, first off, you should find someone like Phil. First trick when you do a podcast. Everybody should have a Phil, not my Phil, but a Phil. Get your own Phil. And then what you really need to do is you got to really be disciplined to record every single week, same time, same day, and do not go off it.
Okay, Christine, if you're listening, we need to do it.
The only way to get it, you will never, ever make it work otherwise, because it's like work. If you didn't have to go to work every Monday to Friday, none of us would go.
That is
Like
true.
you've got,
Okay.
if it's like gym time, or you'll do it once and it's great, and then it's
Making it a habit.
It gets a little bit easier because you do what happens over time is you start to, like, now I think we have 7 or 8 episodes in the kitty, and so you get to a point where sometimes you do have off days, right? Like you're gonna have an off day where you go, we're gonna record, but we already know, like the two of us will know we're recording, but it's going to be shitty because we've had a shitty day or whatever, or a guest doesn't show up, right? Like,
yeah.
So, but
it's usually the guest doesn't
we've
show
got
up more than the other one.
7 to 8 episodes, I think, kicking around all the time. So,
Wow.
yeah. And then the pressure becomes less, right? Because then you're like, look, I have a lot to move through. So if I have one that I feel like is not quite good, I can skip it, or I can get rid of it, or I can put it out because I know I'm going to put out another one next week anyway. So
yeah. We brainstormed and we built our list of people that we want to interview. We just gotta get our butts in shape.
You just got to do it. The thing is, I think one thing is that, I mean, when we first started this, we didn't expect anybody to be listening anyway.
Yeah.
So worst case, it was once a week. We just catch up, shoot the shit for whatever. Right.
Yeah.
I think if we were to go back and do this again, probably not the worst way to do it is do the episodes. If you could do them in 30 minutes, 35 minutes tops would be smarter. If you can, at the beginning, pre-book 10 people, rattle them off in 3 days, and then just breathe, because then you can just sort of publish at a reasonable rate every time, once a week, same time, same place, same bat channel, all that shit. And then just keep filling the kitty. Because like right now, like Phil said, we're 7 or 8 in the kitty, like recorded,
Wow.
and probably 6 or 7 in bookings into April.
Wow.
Right?
Podcast goals. Okay. I'm doing it. I'm gonna call Christine after this and said, you know what? Kenny kicked our butts.
You
We
just
gotta
gotta sit
record.
down and do it, because you'll talk about it forever otherwise, and it won't
I
happen.
know. Well, November was our first recording. Oh, it's all done. It's
Yeah.
35 minutes. It's
Yeah.
great. It's a short session.
Yeah.
But for building the website, we gotta upload and
And
just gotta do it.
we randomly picked a date. Like, so I think that our first episode went up at like 2:11 on a Tuesday.
Nice.
And it was really weird, right? But I said to him, okay, it's as ready as it's going to be. So we're doing it. And we went live, right? And then it was like, oh, and then for a long time, like I think for a year and a half, we were like every Tuesday at like 2:15, right? And I just stuck to it, like, because then you go, okay, well, that's the line in the sand, right? So every Tuesday it must go, right? And then eventually we swapped it out and we rolled it back to Monday night. So now it's Monday nights at 9 p.m. like clockwork. So it doesn't matter. Like he and I might be working on stuff and I'll go, holy crap, it's 8 p.m. here. I'm not ready yet. I got to go. And we might be working on stuff that's revenue generating. And the answer, I got to go. Like I got to go because this podcast isn't done. I got to get finished and out the door, and we'll quit and then come back after I finish, producing the podcast. Right. So
I like it.
We go. And then we actually have listeners. We have one in particular. Sometimes I forget.
Well, the boss, if you miss it, she gets agitated.
Yeah. She'll send me a note. She'll send me a note and go, hey, it's Tuesday. Is there a podcast? And I'll be like, oh, like I think I've maybe missed like 3 or 4 times in a year, but she's on it. Like she never misses. She's just like,
Linda Webb, Lara, right?
No, I don't.
I'm surprised.
Do I know her?
She was with ProLab for quite a while. I mean, she was with a billion things, but her last gig was ProLab. But yeah, Linda reminds she sends it to both of us, which is useless because I don't do anything. So I guess I know that Phil hasn't done anything at that point. That's maybe why she told me. Yeah. I'm not too sure what it is, but anyway.
Yeah. All right, I'm blocking it on our calendars. That's it. That's the only way to do it.
Just do it. It's the only way. And don't you think half an hour, Phil? Like, I mean, we'd like to talk, so it's not that big a deal.
Couldn't pull a.
No,
like I think 15 minutes come out at half an hour. Like we can't. We could never do it. So we're like.
No,
we're locked
like
in
we're
at
6 minutes
hour,
into this one, and we still don't know who we're talking to. Right?
No,
we're locked in for like an hour. But
so
I think 30 to 30. Because what we hear a lot of is people say to us, I listen to you when I walk the dog, or I listen to you when I'm in the car on my way to work or on my way home from work. And so we kind of know that at like 35 to 45 minutes is where they're in for. And then if we're over that, like I think very few people finish listening to the podcast, right? So, but they get a good chunk of it in there. So it's good. It's good.
It's all good in the hood. All good in the hood.
Nice.
What? So before we go, like, what is the podcast about? Like, so what is your?
Oh, I guess I can. Yeah, I guess I can talk about it. It's called
March 18th, right? So.
Yeah, March 18th. It's called Munching on Molecules.
Okay.
And Christine is a certified research chef, and I'm a food scientist. So we have 2 different perspectives from culinary arts and one from food science. And, that's what's food. It blends both science and culinary. And we just like to talk about the people behind the scenes in the food industry. So those, in production, in commercialization, those in the kitchen, and some really cool like food tech that's coming out.
That's cool.
Cultivated meat.
Cool.
I don't know. It's bizarre that sounds. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that is the way to go. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just stuff that we like to chat about when we get together. Really.
No, it's awesome. It's a really interesting, because I think that stuff is really interesting because you so I'm doing some work with a dog food company right now.
Yeah.
And they do freshly cooked, so they do sous vide and all that stuff, and then they flash freeze it, right? And so like you get into, now that I see more of their world, like even just the changing of consistency, like when you cook it, like how far you cook it, and then when you flash freeze it, like for a little while they're getting too much moisture, so they're trying to figure out like, you know, what's doing it. Do we need a different, you know, like all these sort of things that you kind of go, like none of this happens to me at home. Like I just make it and then I put it in a Tupperware and I freeze it. I don't know what the problem is, but you realize like there are all these things that you know don't understand at all about the business, right? So it's kind of cool, you know, that you can talk to people and they know, because you put, I don't know, you put sweet potatoes in there with something else, with carrots or something, and that screws up all your moisture levels and, you know, those sort of things, right?
I love it. I love it. I love that you said sous vide because I used to work for the little potato company, and we launched a sous vide potato product that was available in deli, and it had a 6-month shelf life, and it was amazing. It was seasoned, 3 flavors, 3 SKUs. But yeah, it only stayed on shelf for about a year, but it was great.
It might have been timing though, because it was funny. We were talking about little potato today with, I can't remember who the hell it was, one of the podcasts or something. And we were talking about that, like what a cool thing they've sort of done and niche they've carved out, because now they are.
It was
Jared
Kligerman. Yeah.
And it sounds like they are going back into, or they've got, you know, they're trying to do much more food prep, not just little potatoes. Which by the way, are still really good.
The time is right? The time is right. Like everyone's into flash frozen now, you know, like it's funny because Kenny and I talked to a flash frozen company that we didn't wind up working with. And like, to me, I only knew the dog food company that did it, but my wife was trying to get, like my wife is Chinese, but grew up in the Philippines. And so she's trying to get our local Filipino restaurant to make, you know, healthy food for her senior parents, right? So that they get, you know, and so the restaurant there said, "Oh, I can make anything you want," and it all come flash frozen. So when she brought home the first packet, I was like, "This looks like the dog food. Like what?"
Oh no!
Well, you know, but it was delicious, right? Like, but it never occurred to me that was a thing, right? So it's kind of cool. Like it's.
What was the dish? Was it adobo? What was
it? There was adobo, but there was sinigang.
And wow!
I think there was machado and menudo too. Like they have all these. It's kind of cool. And then they have I don't know what it's called, the chicken soup or the
tinola.
Yeah.
I'm Filipino, so like that's awesome. That's great. There's an opportunity there. Asian cuisine is trending.
100%.
Well, it's huge. I mean, well, it's not just that the food is trending. Look in our city.
Yeah, really.
Asian people are trending, so the food's got to be trending. So it makes total sense to have all these cool things start to come in, right?
It's tough when you're growing up, right? Like it's a different type of culture, and food is so personal.
Well, sure. Listen, you know, okay, I'm obviously European, I'm Italian, but like when we go to school, like all the Canadian kids would have like a bologna sandwich or peanut butter and jelly. Like, and we would come, like, you know, our fucking bags were grease stained because it would be cutlet sandwich or there'd be lasagna or like you'd have all this for your thing. And the thing is, like, we were thinking, the thing was, you look at their sandwich, look at that, like how cool that sandwich is. That's just a cheese sandwich. Like, why can't we have? And they're trying to trade everything for our food. Because it was.
We'd bring rice to school. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go eat this in the corner. Like, I don't want to. I have kids showing up with like, hey, I got another ham sandwich. Like I've had the same one. Ham with the processed sliced cheese in it, right, on white bread, right.
And the best part is, and I made it myself. You're thinking, what do you mean? Your mom didn't make a sandwich?
Yeah.
How do you make your own lunch?
Yeah.
Who makes your own lunch?
Yeah. What's your grandma? What is she not making her food?
What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
That's so funny. But it is true. Like, see, I guess when we were in trail, because there were so many Italians, we would just see it as a group. So it was like normal. But like, you know, if we probably had a couple Filipino families, literally, couple Chinese families, couple Indian, like very, very few. It was a very white town, right? Yeah. But if they would come, they probably would be the same as you said, Phil. They'd eat away because your food smells a little different. It looks a little different. We would be looking at it. What the hell is that?
Oh,
Where
no.
now it's like now
Knowing
you're
what I know
looking at
now,
those
I'll trade you a ham sandwich for adobo. Bring it on. Like,
well now, like
what
if
else
you
you
look
got in
at
there?
it,
You
that's
got
all
some
you want.
crispy pork in there? Like,
Are
let's
you
go, right?
Oh,
Like,
yes.
right?
Each our
Oh,
own.
it's like
Mm.
heaven.
Like,
Oh my God. Anyway, that's
Love it.
yeah.
oh
So
my
we all
God.
like food. We figured that out.
We do. And wine. Can we
Oh,
add
that's
wine?
good too. Yes, we can do that too. We can do that too.
Let's do this. Let's do this. So for anyone who is now hungry,
And 15 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
we have Lara Tiro on, and she is the owner of Rebel Botanica Inc. She's going to tell us more about it. You already know she's a food scientist, and clearly we all love food. So I think this is going to be a very fun episode.
Yeah.
But we're super excited. So that is like the most formal part of this podcast, period.
That was it.
So what we love is like the next 40-45 minutes, you tell us about you, how you got to where you are, wherever you want to start your journey is awesome. I don't even know how you become a food science. I have an English and poli-sci degree, so it's like the farthest thing from food science, but kind of cool too, right? So anywhere you want to start will be fascinating to us. We'll jump in and ask you a bunch of things probably along the way.
Yep.
And then super curious about where you come from, what you do, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Okay, where do I start? I grew up in Indonesia. I'm actually Filipino, but I grew up in Indonesia. Went to an international school there. Didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school, but my parents had applied for Canadian immigrants. So I applied to UBC, got into the science and arts program. Still had no idea. So my roommate at that time, Kathleen, she was part of the agricultural department, and she said, well, every day you talk about food, some kind of food. You're like obsessed with how it's made. I used to watch those Food Network shows, and
I love them.
And she's like, you're in the wrong program. There's a program called food science. And like when you get to university, it's just basic stuff in the first year. So I transferred from my science to food science to land. It's now called land food, LFS, land food. I can't remember. Anyways, at UBC. And yeah, from there, I found food science. But I didn't want to do like a straight food science degree. So at that time, they had what was called food market analysis. So it was a cross between economics, business, and food science. Because I didn't want to stay in the lab. I wanted to get into business. Because my dad always said, there's no sense staying in the lab as a scientist. You need to get into business. So yeah, it was great. I did marketing courses. I almost became an accountant, but I didn't. Yeah, no, wrong.
We're
wrong
both married to accountants, so
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I do
We
like
understand.
numbers. So
We like numbers too, but we
Science
wouldn't
We
want to be an
do.
accountant.
But we
no, no. So yeah, and then I just got into the food industry already in the third year. I worked for Abbotsford Growers Co-op, which is still going strong. They're the berry processing plant in Abbotsford. At that time, there's a lot of QA HACCP jobs. So that was like my foundation, was understanding food safety. And in food, you need that. That's the crux of everything, right? You're producing for people. So safety is important. And then I went and worked at Bear Creek Foods, which at that time was making cabbage rolls out in Abbotsford. And then they moved to Calgary. So no more stinky cabbage rolls and taquitos. And then I ended up working for Freybe Gourmet Chef. So they were part of Freybe Foods, but they did the deli section. So they did the soup, salads, and dips. And worked with Sven Freybe back in the day. I think they're still operational. Yeah, Gourmet Chef is still there, going strong. I think they do all the deli salads for Save-On.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I cut my teeth in QA, and then I said, you know what? I want to get into R&D. There's so little R&D jobs here in Vancouver. And I just didn't have the experience. So I said, you know what, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to use my economics degree. So I found a job doing SRED tax credits. So scientific research and experimental development.
Yeah.
If you are doing R&D, you can get tax credits in food if you're doing product development. But it like really opened the doors for all the different industries. So I was working with the Canadian Sablefish Association. I got their first R&D tax credit. I had like this big check in my hand. I was so scared because it was so much money that they got back from the government.
You're like,
and then, yeah, go,
somebody take it. Somebody
go
take
to
it.
the bank.
Cash it, cash it, cash it.
Cash it. But yeah, I did that for 4 years, and I worked for a boutique tax credit consultancy. And Peggy later sold to Deloitte. But that, yeah, I got to use my economics degree, and then I said, you know what, I need to get into R&D. Food is still a passion. I love it. And then I found a job posting for gourmet baker. So they were owned by at that time, they were owned by Oak Run Bakery, and Oak Run did the muffins for Tim Hortons. And so Gourmet Baker out on the West Coast did cinnamon, but so they did a lot of the deli baked goods.
Yeah.
So the croissants, the butter rolls, we did laminated cakes, we did brownies.
All the things that are bad for you.
No, they're so good.
They're so good.
In moderation.
They make you smile.
They bring you joy. Let's say
good.
that.
Yes.
All the things that bring you joy, but you really shouldn't eat that
a whole
much.
big bag of croissants. Just one or two, and then just enjoy.
Are you kidding? Croissants? I could do that all day till I die.
Yeah.
Croissants and fried chicken would be it. That's
exactly.
how
I could do that
pretty
too.
quick.
Exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, they were a private label commercial bakery. We got the national account for Starbucks, so that was huge. It was great because I got to launch a couple bars there for Starbucks, because at that point in time, Starbucks was buying from smaller bakeries, and they wanted to have that full program. I have one bakery supplying all that from east to west. And lots of plant trials. 85 plant trials on one of the croissants that we did for Starbucks.
Wow.
But yes, early mornings, because that's when they run the trials, in the mornings. It was fun. And then
why so many? Is it because you had some pretty like stringent targets to hit, or kind of QA standards or standards that you had to hit?
Yeah, I mean, typically you get the brief, the product brief or the RFP, and there are some guardrails that you have to hit. But when you scale up in the facility, whatever is done on benchtop never, ever translates to the line. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, funny story is the bakery out on the East Coast, they made the English muffins, and they had a fire. So we had to go and produce in the West Coast bakery. But for some reason, even though the formula stayed the same, our equipment was all the same, we couldn't match that muffin to what was on the East Coast. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. Maybe there was like a water difference in the water. I don't know. It was really strange. Mm-hmm. So, my point is, even though you think it's going to work in one facility, it never translates to the second one. So that's why you have to have these trials. And you can't miss that step. That's like the most important step in commercializing. But yeah, 85 trials. I remember that because we had to figure out how long to retard the dough for croissants, and how much lamination we needed to do. And these are big equipment when they're sheeting the dough in these large, long equipment and lines.
Really?
So fun. One of my favorites.
Really cool.
It's very cool, because I don't see, I can just see a lot of people, they start, they do it at home, make 6 loaves of bread, They go to a small kitchen. Now they're making 24, but I don't think they're testing as they go, kind of thing. You just bring the home recipe. If you need 4 items to make 6, well, you need 16 to make 24.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're gonna go from this tiny little KitchenAid mixer to this big, big mixer, and you have to figure out, okay, well, it's a different kind of dough hook, right? And it's a different amount of energy that's applied. So hence trials.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as most people think it is. And I think the first step I tell a lot of my clients is make sure you put those recipes to grams and volume and percent, because that's the only way you can scale.
Right, like a pinch of something and
a little bit of this, a little bit of that. How much water, Mott? Just get the glass. You're thinking, which glass?
Exactly.
Which one do you want? The big glass, the little glass?
The scoop.
Yeah.
The
Don't put too much. You're thinking, what? I don't know what that
Asian
measure.
recipes are all like this. So I remember going to my sister's house for Christmas one year, and she was like beside herself. And I was like, what is happening? She goes, I followed mom's directions to make the turkey. And I go, okay. And she said, it's got to be in for like 2 hours. And I was like, how would she know that? And she goes, I don't know. She said, it's always 2 hours. I go, no, like, did you watch her make it? And she goes, how would I watch mom make a turkey? I go, you have to watch her make it. She goes, no, she just wrote it down. I go, mom doesn't write anything down. So whatever she wrote down, it means nothing, right? Like it means nothing. And she's like, what? I was like, I will show you what she showed me. And she goes, yeah, write it down. I go, nah, I can't. It's useless. Like, let me just show you, right? And we wound up being like almost 2.5 hours late for dinner, right? Like, because
oh my,
because I said to her, that's not how you like. Okay, so you got the seasoning mostly right, you got the stuffing sort of right, but the timing's all wrong, because mom doesn't know. She just knows.
She just
right?
knows.
Like she'll put it in the oven. She'll go and start making you the turkey neck and the rest of to make turkey soup, and then she's making gravy. I go, you think she does that in 45 minutes? There's like 3.5 hours there. Like,
Exactly.
So the turkey is, like, she was like, oh my God, like, but everything's like that, right? Like everything's, just, it looks about right. You're like, how do you...
Yeah, really. It's you need to write everything down, and there's now software out there that you can video and whatever and translate it easier. So
That's
where was I? I was at the bakery. Okay, we're at the bakery. At the bakery, and then I ended up working for a chef-inspired, nutrition-forward frozen meal company called Luvo. So it was single-serve frozen meals, and what was really neat about them was they were in these little these bags that steamed, and that French style of cooking where you steam in a bag and you microwave it, right? Because it was for the U.S. market. But the problem is when we went to launch, we found during the testing and consumer feedback is that most consumers don't have a scissor. They're all used to the bowl concept, right? At that time. And so it was really like the presentation was beautiful. You opened up the bag, you plated it, slid out of, because it was in a frozen puck. It slid out of the bag onto a plate. It was so beautiful. But
in concept, in
very
theory.
poorly. So we went back. We had to really drill into stage gate, make sure we did the right checks before we launched a product. And then we launched a whole bunch of other. We launched like budinos, which were these chia. We were so well ahead of our times. They were these chia pudding single serve cups with raspberry coulis in it. Oh, so good. And then frozen yogurt.
Making me so hungry.
Oh man,
I'm so hungry right now.
I know. Burritos. Oh, it was that was Luvo. But it was great. They flew me all across down. We had a co-man down in Schaumburg in Chicago. We had one on the East Coast in close to Toronto by Mississauga. And so I got to be there in the plants with the hairnets on, writing, watching like you did, Phil, with the recipe, watching all those steps and converting it into SOPs and making sure that they can replicate it as often as they could. And it was great. Like the fact that I've been able to work in so many different categories and be comfortable with equipment And, you know, there's those foundation skills that you have to build when you're working in this business. And then, I ended up working at Little Potato, which was awesome. Richard Van was my boss there, and he's what he taught me all about innovation and just thinking about how to go about it and launch products. And we launched a couple really cool value added items, like their microwavable kits, moving from like a really cool, I don't even know if I have it, but the packaging and having it microwave, making sure that the little holes in the film was the right size because the potatoes still need to breathe. What else? Oh, yeah, and then those sous vide. I still think about it every time because it didn't last long enough in the market.
You know what though?
So
How long
good.
ago was this though?
What's that?
How long ago?
So Little Potato was 2018.
But you think about it, 5-6 years later,
Yeah.
it's now. You just like on some of this stuff, it depends on where you land. You're just early.
Yeah, we were.
Right?
We were. And
It's
we
so
needed
early.
buy-in by the whole company, right? We needed buy-in. And then even on the other side, on the deli side, right? We didn't know where to merch it.
Yeah.
It just, yeah. So I think if we did it again, we have to. 7 minutes on the skillet.
Like, seriously, that's ridiculous, right? But again, like you said though, timing is obviously everything. You got to hit it right. There's definitely a need for it. People are all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just, maybe you're just a tad on the early side.
Yep.
Yeah, we were totally.
Just a tad though.
Just a touch. Yeah, so where does that land me? Oh, that's so 2021. So I graduated from university in 2004. So now I've been in business for a good solid 15 years. Yeah. And then I went to cannabis, but that's like a little blip in my career. You know, the big learning about cannabis is I knew how to deal with a very evolving, ever-changing market of regulations and pivots. That's
they still haven't figured out.
No. They
you know, and it's also like learning to see, because you're not alone. We all got excited because we thought there might be more to this, right? That maybe he's serious about cannabis, right? But you kind of look at it now and go, not serious, right? Like, not serious. He needed the vote.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? And now look at, we're like halfway, right? We're not
doing anything. Like, we all thought the medicinal side, CBD would have gone crazy.
No,
we would have had
go back,
we
can't go forward. We're kind of stuck now, right? So it's just
it's disappointing. There's so many closures, so many good people in the industry, and it's okay. They'll go down to the US, I'm sure.
Well, someone will figure it out, or sooner or later you'll just get a government that just figures out that there's more to it than just, it's not recreational where the cool stuff is going to happen. It's going to be on probably more on the medicinal side and other things like this. There's just a lot of cool that could happen, but that's government.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, you know, that's 2021. I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it on my own. And I don't know, 3 years later, well, almost 3 years. No, it was great. When I ventured on my own, a lot of people I work with reached out to me with some really cool. So I was busy for the first half year. And then, I started consulting for Conscious Foods. And then they gave an opportunity for me to work full time. So I worked full time for them. I had 3 big goals. Wanted to launch in Canada. So we launched in Canada, go to Expo West, and then get our first order. And we got our first order from KeHE. So I said, you know what? I did my 3 goals and I'm going back to my consulting because I really love helping so many people navigate this industry because, wow. A lot of my clients are startups or in their early concept stage.
Yeah.
And so many questions. And I don't gatekeep. I love to share. I like to educate. And it's just based from all the learnings and the people that I've met along the way. And, it's a tough business. But my first question, Kenny, and you'll like this because the very first question I asked them is, do you know what your COGS are? That's like my
That's the
first
starting point, right?
Yeah,
And
you have to be. You have to know. And then even then, like, do you even know what are your gross margins? Do you know? It's not even product development. It's
No.
do you know what your cogs
Yeah.
are? That's it. And
Because
if you
people
do,
forget, Laura, it's not an idea or a
Yeah.
concept is not a business. It's
Mhm.
an idea or a concept. Put it on paper. Can you make any money at this? Because unless you're doing it for other reasons, most are trying to make something really cool. They're trying to make a few pennies at it.
But food feels even harder than the other ones.
It's so hard.
Like when you run into people who are making hard goods, it's like you run into the question faster, right? Because in most cases, the widgets, all of those things are things you can't produce. You need someone else to do it, so you're forced to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like with food, because there's so much of like just a pinch of this, a pinch of that, that you could do that so far into this process before you get to a point where you go, what do you mean I have to measure everything, right? Like to your point, right? Like, what do you mean I have to measure everything? And then what do you mean that butter costs that much money? Like,
Yeah. And what do you mean I had to pay for
right? Like what?
the bag, the box, the UPC?
Right? Like,
exactly.
Person
What
who's
is
making
GS1? What the heck is that?
What is a GS1
Oh,
and
gosh.
why are they charging me for this stupid number?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I don't. We should move on. I don't think we should talk about GS1.
No, we're not
I feel
going
like-
to.
Okay, fine.
No GS1 talk.
I want so badly, but I feel like you will not get a moment's peace, and
No.
you'll never get the rest of your story out the
No.
minute we go down that
No,
path.
no,
So.
no.
It's part of my story. I learned GS1. I had
Well,
to.
I think we
I
all
wear
had to
that hat.
some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yes, but I help businesses in every the technical aspect. So if they need to figure out their shelf life, and that's the most common thing, that people ask, my sauce only has 2 weeks. I'm like, well, you're not gonna last in grocery if you have 2 weeks shelf life. What it's gonna you're not gonna take you. So we have to reformulate. But then there's other things like regulatory, labeling, compliance. I'll go over your label. Make sure you have the right nutrition facts panel, the sizing, the text, what kind of claims you'll need to put on pack. Do you have the right net quantity declaration? It's a small G, not the big G.
What the big G.
So it's a pet peeve. I see it all the time on pack.
You know what? We should get you to look at our packaging one day, but I'm scared to show you.
I just think that's really funny.
I love that.
That hits so home. Like I'm just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I totally get that.
It looks
I'm sure
beautiful.
that there is a founder listening to this right now going, what? Wait, I need to look at my pack now. Like I'm sure somebody's going, wait, I need to
Well,
look.
I'm worried about our packs. Never mind.
You're fine.
You don't know that.
I know that.
Sometimes we just do things and think, it's close enough. Don't worry about it. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's
if you can
funny.
afford a packaging refresh, that's fine.
So let me ask you this. So if I am building a new product, I have a concept, a cereal bar, energy bar, whatever, and I want to come, like when is the right time to call you? Like, is this I've done this thing, our like typical founder story would be, I started making this thing in my kitchen, for the kids, blah, 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 blah. And then friends and family love it. Now I'm doing farmers markets and I think I want to be able to sell this thing in a grocery. Like, is that the moment that somebody should be calling you, or is there a different, do you know what I mean? Like, cause I think sometimes, like, I think it's people don't know what they don't know. Right. So when do they call you, Lara? When?
The question is, when do I want them to call me?
Yeah, no. But I think
where do they need to be?
Right? Yeah.
But that's important because what people understand is that there's costs involved in everything, right? And a lot of it you can do for free if you just took the time to do it. Mm-hmm. So maybe like, what is the point where you'd rather see them and like sort of feel and not see them? Like, what's the Not where you
Yeah.
typically get,
My-
so it's probably train wreck, but
I hope my clients are listening, so that's okay. I'll let them know because they're in different stages. But what ideally I want to see them when they're at the farmers market proving their concept with some sales, with what I call, the DVF, the desirability, the feasibility, and the viability. Like, have they proven out? Yes, farmers market, you've got your desirability, right? That's proven out. Maybe you've got, you're building a community and there is desire, there's sales, and then the viability, like, is it actually profitable?
yeah, can you make
So
money?
maybe, yeah, right. And then the feasibility, that's where I come in. Can your product scale? That's what I love. That's what I can tell you whether or not it makes sense. Can you continue working in a commercial kitchen? Are there co-packers out there that can make your product? In BC, we have very little
Yeah,
variety, right? That is our problem.
that's a
When
huge problem.
Huge. I was at Ottawa for Food Tech, and one of the ladies there, she's the CEO of Alberta Innovation, and she stood up and she said, we don't have a startup problem, we have a scale up problem,
100%.
and that is our issue. And
100%. We've talked about that with
Mhm.
Lisa and James at BC Food and Beverage
Oh yeah,
numerous times, and it's horrific because people don't understand that you can have a great idea, but it's going to be tough to push through this province. There's capability, but it's
Mhm.
hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And, Phil, to answer your question, I mean, ideally, I want to see them when they're at the farmer's market and proving out their proof of concept,
Okay,
right?
cool.
But, I can help them with proof of concept and it's more of like that advising. Have you thought about this? Have you contacted this? Have you done your micro? What is your shelf life? Yeah. Have you considered co-packing before you commercialize or, work in your kitchen? Because that's a lot of time and effort. And you know what? Sometimes I've got one client, she's like, I don't want to own the world. I just want to, produce my patties, my pies, and sell it to my community. I'm okay with that. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great.
Actually,
Yeah.
to me, to tell you honest, that's even better than
a
awesome.
great answer. I mean,
That's a great answer because usually, well, I'm going to sell for 10 trillion. Sure, you and everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, the whole, like, I'm gonna do this thing, and then 4 or 5 years I'm gonna get venture capital. They're gonna buy me out. And you're like,
Sure.
look, you sell pies. Like I hate to
Not that
tell
it
you,
can't
like,
be done.
yes,
But
you probably could figure it out, but like, you sell pies. If you make a good living at it, you sell
Yeah.
pies. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, just keep it real, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. That's maybe I should make that into my tagline. Keep it real.
Keep it real.
it's sometimes it's probably the soundest of advice, right? Just keep it real, take your time, breathe a little bit, think a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to scale. You don't have to scale right away.
You don't have to scale ever if you don't really want. It's up to you.
Exactly.
Now, if you have a great product, you should scale because if people should have it, that's great. But to your point, it's really doesn't have to be part of anything. Just do whatever you're doing, do it properly.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been teaching through Farm Food Drinks. So they just got this great partnership with Paro, the Women's Enterprise Center in Ontario. And they're funded by the federal government to release these cohorts, these 10 module food business workshops. And the requirement is the entrepreneurs need to have a business already. Like, they're either selling on retail or they have a farmer's market product that's doing really well. And so, a lot of those entrepreneurs, they're very pragmatic, which is great because it's easy to teach all these other concepts behind it, right? And they question, they have all kinds of really great business sense in terms of cogs. I don't have to teach cogs anymore. But
it's crazy, right? Crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
no, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But my one love is, project management. That's if my ideal client is if I can get a medium-sized client and they need help with commercializing and, getting all those cats hurdled in, that's my love. I really enjoy that. And I was thinking about it today when I was like, you know what, Phil didn't even email me questions, but I feel like their process is unscripted. I'm like, oh my God, my PM anxiety is coming through. Like, what am I going to talk about?
We get that a lot. It's probably the most common question we get. It's like, what are you going to ask me? We're always like,
nothing.
No, just show up, bring
just
a drink, Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we'll because usually a lot of times we don't know necessarily what you do, so we'll ask the bonehead questions that people are scared to ask that you need to be answered, and then you just go with it. What the hell, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. You do stuff that again, it's trying to figure out, because even now, like even the fact that we know you a little bit better and we know what you do makes it a lot easier for us, because I do have tons of people, and you're thinking, I know what you need. I don't know how to do it, and I have no interest in learning it. You want to talk labels? Yeah, just go talk to Lara, because you once you print them, man, you can't go back.
No.
I mean, yes, you can redo them, but there's costs. Like, do it right the first time if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want that on. We've had to do a market withdrawal on an allergen, an undeclared allergen. Not fun, but it happens. It happens. It's So
it's never nefarious. It's not like people are trying to hide. They just don't know.
No.
Yeah, labels, not my favorite, but I'll do it. I know it. When it comes to beverages, that's not my jam. I hand it over to my guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think just like you both, right? I mean, I just got an email. Oh, do you know so and so? Can they help me with this?
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Yeah, we all know a guy.
We operate the same way. We're very open. We don't hide. We don't gatekeep, because we think it's a better way to work. Like it's and it's quite frankly, it's easier to work this way, right? And then either I fit, I don't fit, but I can find you someone. I probably know someone.
Or I know someone who knows someone, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this industry is the smallest. Like we can play 6 degrees of separation right now. 100%. I bet you will.
And I don't think we get past 3.
Exactly.
If we get to 6, like, holy shit, really that far out, eh? No, within a couple people, you'll know everybody. It's true. Yeah. It's not a big industry. And that's the sad part. And that's why, like, even I think when I told Phil, I said, listen, I'm going to ask her to come on, because 1, we just don't have enough producers. 2, most people don't know what the hell they're doing. They really don't. And God bless them. They might have a really good idea that actually really could come to fruition and could be very successful. But the way they're going to go about it, they're going to fuck it up, and it's not going to matter. It's not going to last, right? Because they're just not doing that. So it's trying to find people like you that actually do so many different sides of it. I mean, I've talked to you numerous times at show. I didn't know what the hell you did.
I still don't. No, just kidding.
Well, I'm quite frankly, nor do I, but that's a whole different story. But I didn't know you did this much. I knew you were doing some consultative type of stuff, but I didn't realize it was this in depth into this space, which really needs it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of being in R&D. You wear so many hats, you interact with so many departments. And I also worked with a couple startups, so I get it. I've driven the van to the retailer with my freezer of product and delivered. So I can do that. I'm great on the wheel. If you need me to call, I can
do sales too, right?
Yeah. I've shown up at the buyer, in front of the buyer, and
So the other question, I guess, is like, what seems to be a trend right now is folks that are trying to make foods more functional. The whole NPN, all of that stuff. Like, is that part of your work? Oh, okay.
I'm assuming it would be. Like, when is a food cross? Like, when is a food no longer a food, and now it's
because if you look at like a Bloom or these guys, like everyone's trying to push. It's like we move from like, we don't know what the ingredients, we can't read the labels, to the clean ingredients, and then everyone's like, we gotta go one step further. So let's, like, extra value, let's put turmeric in it, or let's push it even further and put glucosamine or something in it, like,
or some adaptogen. Like, let's just play the game. Right?
So where do you do you get those calls, and do you like those calls? Should we tell them not to call you for those, or
Don't call me. I got a gal for it for that one. I don't do NPNs. And the only reason I made the face is the supplements thing, the Savor supplements.
Yeah.
It's just, you know,
Yeah.
I don't. It's another GS1 thing. I don't want to get into it,
It's a
but
great
yes,
idea. We
it's
agree.
yeah.
But even
So
on the food side, though, Laura, the food
Yeah.
side, it could be the same thing, though. You know, when
Mhm.
you start adding different things, like
Mhm.
food can sort of cross from just, well, I'll call it food, to a meal replacement
Mm.
without even knowing that it's crossed into that space, whatever that space even means.
Mhm.
And what do you even need to call out, if anything? Or do you just, you know, like, it's, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what people call you for too, like what Phil's sort of getting at, in the sense that I know why they call you, because you do a ton of shit that not many people do, is the
Yeah.
breath. Not many people do the breath you do. I mean, I look at it and I
Yeah.
thought, wow, you even do some of the shit that we do, which you really shouldn't do. You should leave that to us. Stay in
Yeah,
stay
I
in your
will.
own wheel.
I
Stay in your
will.
own lane.
I will give it to you now.
Freaking food scientists, stay the hell out of that. But I'm trying to figure out, like, because again, I mean, I just think I worry sometimes that I don't think people spend enough time to really understand what they have, what the requirements are, and they probably should get to you a lot faster so that they don't cross lines. That so, like,
Yeah.
are there common lines that people cross? Adding the wrong ingredient, going down a wrong claim. Like, are there common ones that you would, if someone's listening, said, "Oh shit, I didn't know that." Yeah, call her.
Yeah, I mean, it with dressings and sauces, they could be using the wrong starch to get the right finished product. There's tons of, like, starches themselves have a really breadth of application and functionality. So on that too, some people could be using the wrong thing in their formula. Don't call me on supplements. I don't do that. I don't do powders. If you're making a claim and you're like making that implied health claim, that's what it needs an NPN. And I can point you to the right person. How about that? Yeah. And beverages, I don't touch that either. So those are my lanes. Anything food, bakery, granola, frozen, soups, salads, salad dressing, sauces. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, cookies. I like working on cookies and granola bars, and
Yeah.
I
like eating them. Maybe not.
I dropped off cookies today.
well, I've got some tasters now. I can send it over to you. And
No, you can send anything you want.
Yeah, we do all types of food.
You
Just
send
so
it.
we're clear, it's not cookies. All foods.
No problem.
All foods.
Yeah.
But
no
so
problem.
the other thing that I do like doing is industrial ingredient sourcing. So a lot of the startup clients, they just buy from GFS or Cisco. But when you scale, you need to start buying from, you need to get those tech specs. You need to get, if you're making certifications, you need to get all those certifications in. If you're getting into SQF and BRC, you need all those specs.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately, has been sourcing ingredients from, directly from either a distributor or direct from a supplier, because you can't continue to produce you from GFS or Cisco.
Well, you can, but boy, you're going to be expensive.
But you're going to be, you're
just leaving margin on the table because, they've got their margin requirements as well.
But that's a skill too, right? Because you really think of like someone who does this stuff at home, and then you start kind of like looking around. Where do you go, right? It's not like,
Well, the first place they probably do is Costco or Superstore, Walmart,
right?
Because they're thinking that's the best deal, and then you get it to the point. So listen, you should really get to a distributor or wholesaler. So they'll go there, and that might be the GFS, et cetera. And you're thinking that's okay. Yes, you're saving some money, but if you're going to get to scale, you got to get.
You can only hump so many, hundreds of pounds, right? So when you start adding more than 1 0 to the end of whatever it is that you've got to haul into your house, or the commissary kitchen, is kind of when you go, okay, so.
Well, plus those zeros add up
hundreds, right? Like, where do I get tonnage from, right? Like,
right. Yeah. And then what's it going to cost me?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I get asked a lot is finding a co-man or a co-packer. Because it is tough when you're a founder. Most co-packers, they have a special language that you need to talk to them, and there are things that you need to really that big checklist of things that you need to make it's a partnership, right? So you have to be there and hear their end as well. So that's been a lot of the work that I've been doing is co-man searching. Unfortunately, not many here in BC.
No.
And so going to Alberta, is it even feasible to go down to the Washington state and then truck product back up across the border?
Right?
Sometimes, but the cost right now, especially with logistics and freight, it's not worth it. So
nope.
Yeah. or you see a lot of Canadian brands just producing in the US and selling in California. That's it. Just stay in California.
Well, but again, you can even understand that too, right? There's 38, 40 million people down there. It's the same size of our country in a lot tighter space. And you know what it's like going across a border. Like that's sometimes what people forget. It could be the same ingredient deck in the States, but that line on the 49th causes a whole shit ton of problems.
Oh, and risk.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's just more variety in California. There's more co-packers. They have all kinds of
people,
equipment. Yeah, and people. But I am excited. I'm going to Expo in a couple of weeks. So
I have not been. I went down in 2020 because we had a meeting booked, and I was praying to God because I got home from a trip with him actually, and I thought, okay, they're going to cancel, right? Because that's where, and they did, and I thought, Then the guy phoned and said, listen, we're down here. We've rented the place. You just fly down. So okay, I went to California.
Oh, nice.
Same time. Then we came home, and a week later we shut down the world.
Yeah. We canceled our flight the afternoon before, so we were gonna fly the oh god. Anyways,
but so I haven't been since 19. Then.
Wow. I'm excited just to see. Well, that's the other thing that I like doing is the what's out there.
Trade shows.
Trade shows. Connecting with people too, and then. Yeah. The other thing, oh gosh, how do you get your product across the border for a trade show if you're a Canadian brand? That's another good podcast topic.
That's a whole podcast topic. Never mind.
A whole podcast. I feel like the GS1 thing could be a whole podcast. We should probably make a panel, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can think of a few people that probably need a little bit of therapy, a little bit of venting. I think that, that would go well. And then I do think like how to get your stuff across the border is a whole different.
It's a whole different. That's why so many U.S. companies don't come up here to do trade shows.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass for them to come in the country.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's so difficult. So I don't know. I want to end on a good note.
I have like
good note for us is that we've got someone to pitch to now.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, so you're pretty food fixated. Like, what do you eat? Like, are you curious, Kenny? Like, I want to know what you're eating.
The reason I'm curious because I've got way better odds of fulfilling the dream of where she eats versus you, because you're over there.
Yeah,
I'm in the city.
Man. Screw you. I'll find it no matter what. Like,
I guess for me, what I don't eat. I mean, I'll eat anything. I'll try anything.
Is there a go-to? Is there a favorite? Is there?
I've been making bread lately. We've been doing a lot of focaccia and pizza and pasta.
That's okay.
I'm not but I don't really make a lot of Asian dishes.
No, I don't care what you make. I'm just curious
where's your go-to places though? Like where would be a really cool. Okay, because this is what I don't eat. I mean, Chinese is easy to find. Obviously, that's no problem. Japanese, we can do that. And, I know some of the better places in town. I don't know anywhere where I could get Filipino food. You said you're in Indonesia for a while. I have no idea where you get Indonesian food. Mm-hmm. Thai is easy. Vietnamese is easy.
You got to come here.
Like, where would you go?
Yeah. We have Filipino food. Like,
I'm sure we have tons of it here, too. Trust me. I mean,
there's three good restaurants in Richmond. There's Kamayan. Oh gosh, I'm gonna screw it all up.
Yeah.
And then there's little my mom's gonna really get me here. Little Ong Tin And there's one more I'm trying to remember. Well, there's Jollibee. If you really
Oh my
want
God.
the authentic Filipino fast food, you
Chicken
have to
Joy.
at least want to
Chicken
go to
Joy.
Jollibee. Yeah,
Oh,
Chicken
yeah.
Joy. And then there's Max's Chicken. Max's.
Really? You have a Max's out there?
Yeah, on Burnaby-ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need
Is
something
Goldilocks still out there? The
Yeah,
Goldilocks
Goldilocks
used to
is
have a
still
store
there.
out there.
Yeah, I actually worked at Goldilocks. I was the cake order taker.
No way.
We did
thought
cake.
that used to be my job. So when I would cover the West Coast and I would go out,
Yeah.
all my relatives, the in-laws, would be like, make sure you get to the store and get, because I think Goldilocks was one of these, like Kenny is like it's a really favorite Filipino treat. Chinese have something like it too. Like the base is like this. I'm gonna get it wrong, but it's like a peanut powder. Like it's like a peanut powder that they compress into like a little bar, like about this big, right? And then they flavor it with all sorts of nuts and all sorts of things. It's amazing. Like you put it in your mouth and it crumbles and dries up your mouth. So the texture is just amazing, right? Anyway, so every time that I would go out there, like, because I think the Goldilocks guys were the ones that said like they would never come because it's too cold. So they didn't want to move any farther west or east. So they stopped in Vancouver. So like we'd have to bring it back and forth. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's still a family owned business. Over the years, it's still passed from generation to generation. So those that open the store, there's a family member that owns it and runs it, which is
awesome.
I think pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But there used to be a couple Indonesian restaurants here in Vancouver. Not many anymore. There's a food truck. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but they're usually at Riley Park Farmers Market.
Yeah, at the farmers market.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Hawker's Delight is kind of a Malaysian Indonesian on Main Street. That one's really good.
Yeah, I don't do Richmond. I stay. I pretty much stay in East Van. I try not to do Bridges if I don't have to. I'll go into Burnaby. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going out to Surrey. I'm not going out to Poco. I'm not going to the North Shore.
I'll never see you in my neighborhood.
I'll literally go anywhere for food. I could give a crap.
Okay, great.
If I gotta drive, like I will drive. I don't care.
Okay, I'm taking Phil out when he comes out here.
Oh,
for CJ, are you going to be here?
With you too. My preference is
coming up for
staying in the hood.
Yeah, I'm coming up for CJ.
Fine, we'll leave.
We are doing. We're gonna go hang out with Emrit from Coho Kitchen.
Nice.
Because we're gonna do a podcast from one of his kitchens, which is super cool.
So excited.
Yeah,
we're pretty excited. We've no idea what we're gonna do there, but because like both of us cook, but I don't feel like I deserve to be anywhere near a pro style kitchen. Like I feel like it's the sort of place that I'm going to hurt myself, but I nonetheless want to go. So,
that'd be fun. Yeah. There's so many cool operations out of that kitchen. It's awesome.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be cool.
So you're making bread.
I'm making bread. Yes. Yes. Sourdough. I've built my starter a few times.
Yeah, I've been making pizza here at home, like a lot of pizza. I don't know why. Like I don't know why. Like I was doing bread for a long time. I still have a starter, but pizza's been the thing lately.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome.
I go to Livia for my bread, or I phone my mom.
I love her. She's so good.
I have an interesting one for you.
It's the Livia's. I mean, her sourdough is like off the charts.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there's a new whole grain bakery that just opened on Hastings called Tony's Whole Grain, and his stuff is supposed to be very awesome. Like he just uses really high end whole grains. I'm gonna find it.
You should try to find that one. I like Livia because I like where she is too, because it's on the way to La Grota, just at the top of the go down into the warehouse. So get a loaf of bread.
Get some cheese. And where are you going to get your wine? Where's the wine coming from?
You got to. When you have gout, wine becomes a little challenge.
It's on my mind because I'm going to the Van Wine Fest in
you go. Oh yeah, that's right. We used to do that one. We didn't do it this year.
But, nice. Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's a drink fest.
I know. I've been dry sober in January and damp in February. So we'll see what this
See how
weekend
much
will be.
damage you do.
I have my WSET level 2, so I'm out of practice.
Really?
So I should practice. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. See,
Too
I'm
hard.
all over the place.
Like you really are.
Right?
You
I just
really
have
are.
I have many loves. How about that?
That's fantastic. Good for you.
We're the same though. I think that's
I like that.
what makes everything so amazing. Actually,
Yeah.
awesome.
Very cool, my dear.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
with
thanks
us.
for coming on.
No problem. Thank you guys. I was very nervous.
Oh,
I don't know why.
Oh,
It's okay. It's fine. It's
no.
really fun. It was a conversation.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's
But
what
it's the
it
only
is.
way we can do it because otherwise we would get nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too formalized. We get stressed out.
So
Every now and then, will you just take pictures and send us what you're making?
okay.
I'm curious. Like I love it. Like I love figuring out. We're with there's a guy on LinkedIn. His name is Jared Klegerman. And he's all over LinkedIn all the time. Like he's a great guy. He's a CPG guy.
Yeah.
But we had the same sort of conversation with him today.
Oh, we all got hungry.
We're actually going to take a crack at seeing if we can find a kitchen so that Kenny, and I can actually cook together and have like an episode.
That
when
would
Kenny
be
comes
awesome.
down, here in Toronto, right? Like because I think it's just like he was talking about. He was the other way. He was saying how he had a friend who got him back into kind of Vietnamese dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd been making pho and pho and bun and all these sort of, and kind of like messing around with all those dishes. So, and like, if you've met like Jared's like this ginormous guy, like ginormous white guy, that you never, but he was like right into it. Right. So it's just really,
he's like 6'7", eh? Like he's a
big, tall guy. And
you've never met
he's right in there.
Laura's
Like
not
with all
6'7".
so it's all over. It's like, it's fantastic. Right. Like
If I ever meet him in person, I need to have this photo up because
that one, I'm taking the picture.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm 4'10" on a good day.
So you're 5 foot tall.
There you
Let's
go.
go with that. That's what I would say.
That's what I say to my wife too. You're 5 foot tall. She's like, I'm like, yep, that's what you are. All right.
So if we do something in Toronto during Situafe, we'll bug you if you're going.
Yeah.
Maybe what we'll do is have a small group of people who like food, and maybe we can do something like that.
That would be fun. I'm doing a mozzarella cheese class.
Where?
But it's hosted by Yes Chef in Abbotsford.
Okay.
I'm going there in April with my girlfriend, and we're gonna make some mozzarella. I'm very excited.
Kind of fun. That'd be kind of cool.
I'll send you photos of that one.
That sounds awesome.
You can do that.
I want to do that. I've never done that.
Well, if you want to learn how to make sausages, or I think like prosciutto capicolo, they do at the Italian Center. My buddy Louis does them.
Oh, I'm down. Okay,
seriously. So if you ever want to do that, just look up the Italian Center, and they'll have the courses. And it's Louis Bastone.
Oh my gosh. Okay, doing it.
Oh, I'm so hungry now. Okay. Hang on. So before you go, if people want to find you, what is the best place for somebody to find you?
My website, www.rebelbotanica.ca, or I am very active on LinkedIn lately, so they can look me up. Lara, Lara Tiro, Tiro.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You can find me on Instagram, but I'm not very. I don't do the socials thing.
I feel like you just need to post food. Like I think you can just post things you love, things that you eat, and then leave it there. Like I think that would be enough.
Done.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I can do that. That's easy.
And get your shit together on the podcast.
March 18. And then we're gonna have
March
to record
18th.
a couple of sessions. Yes, more than 2.
We're gonna call you on March 18th.
Yeah, you're gonna be our next guest.
I'm actually putting it in my calendar, so I will message you on the 18th and see where you
did you post.
Yes.
Check on Lara.
Check on the podcast.
Exactly. Podcast check up.
The pod. Okay.
On the pod.
And what's it called again?
Munching on Molecules.
Munching on Molecules. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it's there. It's out there in the world. All right.
You got to do it now because now people are
Yeah.
going to think, where the hell
I
is it?
know. I know.
We maybe so Kenny, I put it in your calendar too.
Sure.
Nice.
And then we can cross post it as well. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And go, where are you? Where is it? Our friends
sure.
podcast is coming out.
As soon as you
Go
post it on
find it. You'll be like, stop.
So as soon as you post it on LinkedIn, or like you're going to talk about it there, and then you post, we'll repost for you for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
Lara,
the
thank you so
support.
much.
Phil, you
Bye.
stick around. Laura, we'll talk to you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
I'm hungry now. It's
I'm
dinner
starving.
time here.
I know. I got to go stir my sauce.
Yeah, go stir your sauce. That was awesome.
That was really
She's
good.
awesome. That was very fun.
She's really good. She's done so many cool things too, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard because I don't think people spend enough. Well, you know what our industry is like. Everybody spends so much time on the package and the idea, and they forget about all the truly important parts.
Yeah. It's cool. It's great.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and then have a great night.
Thank you.